Let's make this angry cup with some coffee inside it, or if you prefer tea, but I'll be doing coffee. So for this project, you will of course need some eyes, googly eyes or safety eyes, or a pair of buttons. Alternatively, you can crochet these eyes on. For your nose, and if you are putting some eyebrows, a bit of leftover black yarn, or if you call it wool, with a darning needle. Then you're going to need an appropriate size crochet hook. Now, this I'm going to make out of leftover yarn. So I got some lightish brown for the coffee pot and some red for the actual body of this mug. You're also going to need a pair of nice sharp scissors and a stitch marker. Why I'm saying a stitch marker is that we're going to work in a continuous round. So one stitch marker. If you don't have a stitch marker, that's cool. You can also use a piece of yarn has a stitch marker. So let's make it. Grab your hook, grab your yarn. We'll be starting at the base of this mug. The first thing you're going to do, let me just move all of these other things out of the way, is using the color that you chose. I am going to do something weird. Now, I'm not going to start here. I'm going to quickly make this arm the handle of this mug. So then I know that part is completely out of the way. For the handle of your mug, you're going to make a slip knot, but I want you to leave a nice sized tail. So make your slip knot and chain 11. Once you have your chain 11, one slip stitch into the second chain from the hook. Now I want you to work one slip stitch in each of the chain right down to the bottom, to the first chain that you made. This is the last chain stitch. When you cut your yarn, again, leave a nice long tail so that you can work this into your mug. So now you have your handle for your cup. Let's put this aside. Now I did say I'm going to do this completely different. Let's make the coffee part. So I'm grabbing my brown yarn and I'm going to make a magic circle. Once you have your magic circle, chain 1 to secure. Into this magic circle, you're going to crochet 8 single crochets. So that's my 8 single crochets. Pull your magic circle and tighten. Into the very first stitch that you made, please make 2 single crochets into that very first stitch. So I'm going to make the first one, and I'm going to just move this tail out of the way. I'm going to make the first one and I'm going to put a stitch marker on it. And I'm going to make another one into the exact same space. The repeat pattern for this row is 2 single crochets in each stitch across, which will give you a total of 16 single crochets when you come to the end of your round. That's row 2 complete. I'm taking out my stitch marker for this row. Into the very first stitch, 1 single crochet, put your stitch marker back on. In the next stitch, you're going to increase. What that means is 2 single crochets into that stitch. Your repeat for this row is 1 single crochet in the first stitch. In the next stitch, 2 single crochets. Continue to work in this manner until you get to the end of your row, where you'll have a total of 24 stitches. When you get to the end of your row, remove your stitch marker. You're going to leave a nice long tail. And pull out. You will be using this tail to stitch this coffee into your mug. Let's move that out of the way. So now we've made 2 of the 3 elements. Now let's do the base of this mug. I forgot to mention that you're going to need some stuffing, whether you're using some leftover scraps of yarn or you have stuffing that you've bought. Either one will work perfectly for this. You will start the base of the cup with a magic circle. Chain 1 to anchor your work. Into your magic circle, you're going to work 6 single crochets. Pull to tighten. Into your very first stitch that you made, you're going to work 2 single crochets. I'm just going to tighten this last stitch more. So that's the first stitch. I'm putting a stitch marker, and into the same space I'm making another single crochet. Your repeat for this round is 2 single crochets in each stitch around. When you get to the end of your row, you will have a total of 12 single crochets. Row 2, remove your stitch marker. Into your very first stitch, you're going to work 1 single crochet. Into the next stitch, 2 single crochets. Your repeat for this round, 1 single crochet in the next stitch. In the following stitch, 2 single crochets. Continue to work in that manner until you come to the end of your row, where you will have a total of 18 single crochets. That's row 3 done. Remove your stitch marker. Excuse me, that is row 2 done. Please forgive me, that is actually, oh my word, that is row 3 that's done. For row 4, into that very first stitch, you're going to make 1 single crochet. Put your stitch marker back on. In the next stitch, you're going to make another single crochet, and in your third stitch, you're going to work 2 single crochets. Now, I did say I'm using scrap yarn. So the only thing I'm going to do is knot them together, and I'm going to leave it inside this cup when I'm done. Your repeat for this round is 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and in your third stitch, 2 single crochets. Continue to work in that manner until you come to the end of this round, where you will have a total of 24 single crochets. This is the end of row 4. So now we've worked, I'm just removing my stitch marker. we've worked the base of our cup. Now I'm going to leave all my loose threads in here because I'll be stuffing this cup and nobody will be able to see it. For row 5, you're going to only work in your back loop. So let me show you which one is the back loop. So on your stitch, this is the front loop and this is your back loop. Can you see that? Back loop, front loop. So everything facing you is your front loop and everything at the back, 1, 2, 3, back loop. So for this round, you're only going to work in the back loops. You're going to make 1 single crochet in the first stitch and put on your stitch marker. Now you're going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch around until you get to the end of this round. When you get there, you'll have a total of 24 single crochets. For row 6, remove your stitch marker. 1 single crochet, but work in both loops, please. Both loops, 1 single crochet in each stitch, right around until you come to the end, and you will have a total of 24 crochet stitches. That is row 6 complete. For row 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So for 6 more rounds, you're going to repeat row 6, which is 1 single crochet in each stitch around. Repeat row 6 until you finish row 12, please. I've just completed row 8 and this is how it's looking. This is how it looks after 10 rows. 2 more rows to go. This is what we have after we have completed, or you would have completed row 12. I've also completed it. It looks like a nice, perfect little cup. For row 13, and this is the last row, remove your slip stitch. Remove your stitch marker. 1 slip stitch in each stitch across. This is just to make the edge look pretty. So 1 slip stitch in each stitch, right around, please. We're now at the end of this row. Cut a nice size tail, nothing too long. Pull your yarn out. Thread a darning needle. Once you have your yarn on a hook, make an invisible stitch. This is just to make sure that the lip of my cup looks nice, and you can work your thread in a bit to the bottom, and then you can leave that piece in. So now you've got your mug. I'm going to attach one of these the longest one, the yarn tail, to a crochet hook, to a darning needle. Now, you want to attach it where you had your stitch marker in. That's the simplest and easiest way for me to say this. And you're going to attach it to, not where you have your slip stitches, the row underneath row 12. You're going to attach it between row 12 and row 11. So I'm going to attach there and go back in, just so that this does not come off. Then, if you have a look at this cup, again we're on between the second and third row of the base, which is row 6 and 7. I'm going to take my needle. So I'm just going to line up the arm of the cup to the side. So this is row 5, 6, and 7, somewhere there. And I'm just going to, with my eyeball, mark it off there. That's why I said leave a nice long tail. I'm going to go through the first slip stitch I made here, back on the opposite side of it, leave a little space, and I hope you can leave a little space and go through there, pull all that yarn through. Can you see? This is where I've hooked my little arm for this mug. I'm going to go through here at least 2 to 3 times just to make sure that this handle does not move. And I'm trying to record this at the same time and do this, and I hope y'all can see exactly what I'm doing. When I'm on the inside, I'm just going to go through 1 stitch or 2 and make a knot. Go back into another stitch. And I'm going to leave that part. I'm going to come back to my other piece of tail from the top of the mug. Thread that onto a darning needle. Now I'm going to complete the top of my mug handle by joining this part. Again, you can go through 2 stitches. Just make sure to get it all nicely secured. We don't want it coming off. Yes, and the one thing I noticed after I made the first one, children love to touch them. Yes, and play with them. So I've learned to secure the handles on better. I never thought the kids will want to keep on touching them and pretend play with them. And I'm just gonna, I've made a knot and I'm leaving that part on the inside. If you are putting on safety eyes, now would be a great time to put them on. And they go between the 12, 11, 10, between 10 and 9. And a nose, but I'm going to do that last. Now you need to stuff this mug, please. But before stuffing, I'm going to attach a piece of this, the coffee part of this mug. So I'm leaving the tails all hanging in. Now, the coffee part attachment. You're going to work this. So just turn your cup out a bit So you've got row 12 and you've got row 11 directly underneath it. Let me bring this closer to the camera. Row 12, you got your slip stitches, that's on top. Row 12, row 11. You're looking for these pieces here. This is where you are going to attach your coffee to. Simply go into that loop and then go into the back loop of your coffee. Don't pull too tight, and you're going to work just like this in this piece of the second row and the back loop of your coffee. I'm not sure what you call this, a notch, but I know it's part of the stitch. Just look for those in the second row and continue to attach that. Do not pull too tight, neither should it be too loose. I'm just tightening mine up a bit. Again, same thing until you get to the end, not the end, about 3/4 way around your cup. It'll be a good idea to now stuff your mug. Once you feel that it's firm enough, finish you working the coffee to the mug. Oops, I just hit the camera. Once you've made your last stitch, push this into the base of your body, your needle. Okay. Go through a back loop. One of the back loops, something inside to secure your work. Do not pull too tight. So I can feel it secured, and I'm going to cut my yarn and leave it in the body of my cup. So here's my cup. Now I'm going to stick a pair of googly eyes on. So I've stuck on the googly eyes. Between row 10 and 9 is good. Now you're going to put on either some eyebrows if you want some, or a mouth. The choice is yours. You can leave it just like this should you wish to. I am going to quickly put on a mouth. So I've thread a needle. Again, let me get this closer to the camera. I'm finding the center between the eyes, which is here. I'm going to go down one row and just there. I'm going to leave this a bit long. Go back into the center. So let me move my hand like this. Into the center. So however you decide to stitch on or work your nose, it's your choice. Oops, my glue of my eye is not yet dry. Don't pull too tight. I'm securing this with a knot. And I'm going to just cut that yarn off. And I'm going to use the back of my needle, well, the front of my needle, of a crochet hook, and I'm just going to pull these ends in to the actual project itself. Stuff it in properly. That's my nose. no eyebrows because I keep on messing them up. And I'll just make sure the eye is totally dry. But this is my beautiful cup of angry coffee. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I hope you have a few laughs while you're watching it with all the mistakes I can catch up to. Anyway, enjoy crocheting. Have an awesome day or night, depending on wherever you are. This is the Queen Phoenix out, and I'm going to have quite a few laughs about this.